right, with that, let's go ahead and introduce our next speaker. This is Caleb Christopher. All right, we're going to learn all there is to know. We're going to do a super deep dive into cryptography. Who of you looked at the SecKC website and saw Caleb's description? Did anybody decode that? Raise your hand. Don't yell it out. All right. Well, I'm going to hand it over to you. Way to go. Go get him, Caleb.
Thanks, man. Start my timer here. Well, in case you didn't decrypt that, it's base 64. Go figure it out. It'll be fun. It's like a field trip, right? Do it on your phone right now. Okay, so one thing I want you to know right from the start, you're excited to be here, okay? Now, this is going to be a big deal. Those of you who are familiar with this clip will understand what I'm saying. This is actually not a deep dive. We're staying right on the surface of the issue, okay? We are not going to crack through the ice and get into the mathematics or any of that junk. I get headaches trying to read books about that stuff. I've got a certification about encryption. Dude, don't go there. Let's stay at the surface level, all right? This is an introduction. Very well. Okay, so what I want to do, I'm going to introduce, this is the problem, right? Cryptography is obviously the answer. But how do we use it? How do we get the answers? We've got 3 questions. How do you talk privately to someone in a crowded room? Let me hear some answers. How do you do that? What? That's right, different languages, right? So if I want to know how to have a private conversation with Bill. Bill, do you speak Croatian? No. Yes, for this example you do. Yeah. Okay. Does anyone else speak Croatian? No. Yes. Thank you. We're going to say for this example, no. All right, you following me now? So, Bill, now you and I can talk in an open room. Other people can hear it. They can know what we're saying without understanding it. That's how encryption works, all right? That's what I want to do. That's the problem we have to solve. Now we need to solve it in real life across the internet. How do you know that what you said or what the other person said hasn't changed, right? So if we switch to written messages and he has to write a note like in elementary school and middle school and pass it to me, we have to trust other people to hand that message across and all the way up here to the stage. How do I know that from the time it left his hands to the time it comes into my hands, it hasn't changed? That's one of the problems we're going to solve with cryptography. And then how do I prove who said what? How do I know that Bill's actually the one that sent that message? Right? These are the questions we want to answer with this talk. All right, you get into the definition stuff here, blah, blah, blah. Basically, I want to keep private stuff private, right? We can solve more problems like we just saw on the previous slide. But here's the exciting part. So Google has been tracking the use of the word cryptography since 1800. Okay? So that's 1800 right there. Right about there, really low usage, right? Not a lot of people talking about it. They want to send a private message, they walk down to their neighbor and talk. Okay, this is 1900. Right about here, there's a little plateau. So, during that plateau, I just Googled some stuff to figure out what was going on, just out of curiosity. Your mileage may vary, interpret it how you want. Interesting things. At that time, I found there was the Boxer Rebellion, the formation of the Irish Party, the world's first wireless transmission. That certainly wasn't encrypted, but maybe they were thinking about it. Maybe they searched Google. McKinley was shot, and the Socialist Revolutionary Party was started. So there's a bunch of relatively sensitive topics. Maybe it came up at that time. And then, in the late 1900s, we see this huge spike. Why? Any ideas? Wrong! A man named Bruce Schneer wanted to sell some books and get some speaking engagements, so he spammed the Google search results to make it really popular. He succeeded in his mission, and then what do you think happened right there? He retired. And then it dropped off sharply, and then right around the 2010s, we had the rise of Bitcoin and ransomware, and people are re-interested in cryptography, right? Now, if you don't know Bruce Schneer, you want a deep dive, go read one of his books. He is one of the leading minds in cryptography, okay? I was kidding. He's a respectable man. So, if you forget nothing else, or if you remember nothing else from this talk, what do we want from cryptography? Pain, that's right. Did you say it in English? All right. It's all about pain. P, privacy, confidentiality. A, authenticity. We want to know who said what, if that was really the person who said it. I, integrity. I want to know that the message hasn't changed from its original state. And N, non-repudiation. This is very closely linked with authenticity, but it's more of a legal concept. Again, guys, don't skin me. I'm standing right at the top of that layer of ice. We're not going down into the pool, into the freezing water. Okay, PAIN, what's it about? What's cryptography for, everybody? This is painful. Everybody say pain at the same time. What is cryptography? There we go. It is painful to study too. Okay, visual aids. Cryptography brings pain. That's a paintball gun on the right and a man in a shower. You want to talk about pain. Okay, we have some key terms here. I'm slapping myself in the forehead because I didn't put this in my speaker notes and I'm looking at a blank screen. I only have speaker notes on some slides. So, note to self. Plain text, this is the easiest one. It says what it is, right? A cipher. This is an algorithm with which you encrypt plain text. The ciphertext is the text that has gone through a cipher. We get what's called a message digest from a hash function. Now this is essentially a one-way encryption that's not meant to be reversed. Okay? Cracking, not the same thing as reversing. We're going to spend a lot of time on these two here because we want to solve that for those problems of communicating privately and maintaining. We want to achieve full pain, right? So, a symmetric key. This is synonymous with, you'll see all sorts of these. Just know that they're all talking about symmetric key encryption. Private key, shared key, session key, secret key. All four of those, 5 of those, mean the same thing. Okay? Now, here's the thing with symmetric cryptography. That's me and Bill talking in Croatian. We both know what each other is saying. It's very fast and easy for us to speak a language that we know natively. Computers can do the same thing with encryption. The problem, anybody, what's the problem with symmetric cryptography? Distribution of keys, yes, sharing passwords, etc. Same thing. So how do I tell Bill what language to speak without any of you knowing? That's the problem. And that's a scalability issue for symmetric key encryption. Now, it is very efficient. That's one of the big benefits. Asymmetric cryptography. You'll see public key cryptography, PKI, public key infrastructure. This is what happens here is we generate a key pair. You have a private key, which you keep. Private, very good. And you have a public key, which you publish. This is counterintuitive to some people. Why would I publish my key? The way it works is something that is encrypted with one key can only be decrypted with the other key. So I want to publish a public key and let you encrypt things with my public key so that only I can decrypt that. That achieves confidentiality across an open medium. So let's look at it this way as an example. You there with the boxers. Yes, I can tell. You're my example person right here. So let's say you have an imaginary lockbox and I have a padlock and I chuck my imaginary padlock out to you and you catch it without getting hit in the face. Now, you can write whatever message you want inside that steel lockbox, drop it in there, and then lock it with my padlock. And then you can have other people, your mules, carry it to me. When it gets up on stage and I unlock that box, I'm the only one with the key. Then I can read your message. Can anybody else read it along the way? Not for the purposes of our example, okay? Quiet you. This is a very simple illustration of how some asymmetric cryptography works. Now, the same is true digitally in the reverse. It's not quite the same in real life with physical lockboxes, right? But I can encrypt something with my private key that then anyone can decrypt with my public key. Why would we want to do that? Yes, because something that is encrypted with my private key can only be decrypted with my what? Public key. That means I must be the one who wrote that message. There's your authenticity. So, then we get some other terms. CIA, very common term, abbreviation, whatever you call those. in security: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. We're always trying to keep those three. It's a balancing act. And then we have PAIN. What's that stand for? P, privacy, authenticity, integrity, and non-repudiation. So back to hashing. It's very similar to asymmetric, right? It's like half of asymmetric cryptography. I can take a large file, put it through a hash function, and a fixed size block of text comes out that represents that file. If you change anything within that file, the output of the hash function changes. That's the purpose of hashing. So I can send you a file, send you what the hash output was, tell you what algorithm to use, and when you receive the file, you run it through a hashing function as well, and if it matches, bingo, you got the right file. If it does not match, then that has been modified or replaced. Again, symmetric key. This is not scalable. Sorry, I get mixed up on these. So talking up here. By the way, any one of you could have given this talk. All right, just a couple of hours of study. So let's have some more talk submissions on intro stuff, so we get more speakers up here. So symmetric key achieves confidentiality, but not all the other stuff. It's fast, but it has problems with key distribution. Asymmetric. We achieve non-repudiation with this. We can. And it is very easy to distribute keys because you publish one publicly. Okay? Achieves full PAIN. All right, here's the quiz. As a team, I think I got the 3 questions. Okay, keep these in mind. Now, what's an everyday example of communicating privately over a shared medium? Sure? Web browser. Very good. Are you heckling me? This doesn't feel like heckling. I thought you were going to heckle me. I studied many years in the Amazon forest of retard to be ready for this day.
Right overdone it.
All right. So if you have a lot of data to transfer, which one do you want to use? Which type of encryption? Symmetric or asymmetric? Symmetric, because you have a lot of data. It needs to transfer. It needs to be fast. If you're a web server and you have thousands of clients that you're connecting to and trying to talk with, which are you preferring, asymmetric or symmetric? Symmetric. Why can't you use symmetric by itself? What's the problem? Key exchange, key distribution. It's very difficult to get those out securely. Now, if Bill and I met privately outside and discussed we were going to speak Croatian or some other language, then we could do that privately, but that's not possible in a scalable fashion. So, how do we handle key distribution efficiently? We switch to asymmetric or public key cryptography. If we need integrity, non-repudiation, and authenticity, we need what? Asymmetric or symmetric? Asymmetric, public key cryptography. So what's the problem with asymmetric? This is just review. It's slower. Thank you. Now, so how do we get the best of both worlds? We use a little something called hybrid cryptography. Keep an eye on the colors here. Red for asymmetric. So a client obtains the web server's public key. Then that client uses the public key to encrypt a freshly generated private session key. What kind of key is that? Symmetric. So we use asymmetric to connect. We generate a symmetric key. We then send that over, that asymmetrically encrypted symmetric key, to the web server. And after that, we start using that as a session key. Why is it called a session key? It's in use for one session, and then it's discarded. So we just solved our problem. So, a visual representation. Step 1, you start with asymmetric. Step 2, step 3, profit. Remind me one more time. What's the word? Why do we want to use for cryptography? What's it all about? PAIN. Privacy, authenticity, integrity, and non-repudiation. Thank you.